Hi guys, welcome to today's video. In today's video, we'll continue our alternate History of Europe series. And yeah, to start, we will begin with Russia deciding to invade Chechnya and Dagestan. Why would they do that to begin? Because they do. Which is seen as a shock, as Russia tries to establish dominance over two regions that were once a part of them, which shocks the world. Well, it shocks Europe because it's alternate history of Europe. And their shock to Europe is so big as they move in. But unlike in our world, they managed to succeed. Yep. And probably the early 2000s now in this series. And yeah. Might be earlier, actually. But I like to think that. With the collapse of Dagestan happening as Dagestan falls. Yep, as two regions of Georgia, Abkhazia and South Ossetia, in this timeline decided to join Russia again. But the only difference is they look different in this timeline, probably. They're a bit bigger in this timeline, as they both declare want to join Russia. Eventually, they join together into the pro-Russian separatist region. Why am I calling it a pro-Russian separatist region? Because I am. And Russia, although does not intervene yet. Why don't they intervene yet? Because they're still trying to get some lands back. Well, they're working on reestablishing Dagestan and Chechnya as parts of it. But at this point, Georgia has at most a month before Russia will intervene. And these forces was not expecting this as they get kicked back. But not far. And they're especially kicked back in that front. But they're not really kicked back, as they move in here, too. They establish themselves, as they quickly turn the tides in one front. As they quickly establish it, so they won't collapse right away in the South Ossetian region. But with conscription, Georgia manages to kick them back. And how did Russian-speaking lands get bigger in this timeline? The policies were a lot worse in this timeline. And well, the two regions are split in half by the overwhelming support of the rest of Europe. With it changing when Russia sees the major setback, Russia eventually is forced into the war they claim, as they claim bad stuff is happening. Yep. As Russia's forces enter into the north. And then they enter from the east. But quickly they change their advance tactic to be faster. Now they move towards Tbilisi. They might be able to annex this if all goes well. Make Georgia a puppet. With Russia quickly kicking them all out of all of these lands. With Russia now going for the coast. And then the rebels start moving forces out. And well, with Russian forces, they all meet up in the center of the country. As they encircle Tbilisi, they take it. And the country of Georgia capitulates and they go to peace with Russia, annexing the country. Russia now moves on further to attack Chechnya. And well, I think they did lose the Kola Peninsula. No, they didn't. Who am I kidding? They didn't lose that, did they? As Russia's ready to storm into another place, which is Tatarstan. But why do they march in there? Because they say that they're not good. And they even invade Kazakhstan, guys. Look at them. No, I'm kidding about that. They did not invade Kazakhstan. That was some mapper's mistake. Definitely not Wild Mapper. Fine, it was. Fine, I didn't actually do it right, and then it went out the lines. With Russia being extended massively, and the people happier than ever as they have taken back Georgia, Chechnya, Dagestan, Tatarstan, and many other regions. But with some countries seeing this weakness and realizing, well, their team, even with sending most support, weren't actually doing that great. But some countries just see defense as something they can do for themselves, as they think Europe will do nothing if they get attacked. And then this new alliance, the Nordic Union, becomes quickly known as the Nordic-Baltic Union. Why is it called that, you may be wondering? Because the Nordics and Baltics. And while they make a huge military, they even have the Faroe Islands. They have huge areas. Well, they're in a good spot for the next conflict. They're strong enough to hold on if Russia did invade. And well, the North African Union just leaves. Well, a few disputes happen, but nobody else really leaves. But then Spain leaves. Why did they all just leave? Who knows? But they did. Some countries stay as that's their best choice. Yeah. And well, Azerbaijan has still lost a bit of land. And yeah. Now for the Ukraine's turn to be a part of this video, guys. And so Ukraine splits in half after pro-Russian regions full of Russians from when Russia occupied them. It's much bigger than an hour timeline. And Russia's ready to try something. Reached between Kiev and, well, what city did they pick? For their capital, well, they picked Mariupol. And from here is their capital. That's where the other country's capital is. But there's a lot of cities in this region. Is where, yeah. And, well, they move from here. They move out from here. And they move out from here. And they move down from the north. As they are supported, probably. They're moving in many fronts. Unfortunately, in two fronts, they get kicked back a bit. A minor amount here. Not a big deal. They get kicked back there. And they get picked back big time here. With them seeing they're probably going to get encircled, they move all the way back to here. Well, why does it look like... What? They don't look the right color, no. Let's give it a bit of color. More color. And that's... Now we can tell where it is. And why is that important? Because it is. Well, they're making a few big advances But in one front, they are kicked completely back. But it's because this area is completely cut off. It's unlikely anybody can win at this point. As everything is turning, the world has changed a lot. Well, after World War II, and then came the collapse of all the communist nations, Ukraine annexes all of this territory, which is seen as wrong. With a march forwards here, the best bet is seen to take big swaths of land and move into a good spot on the negotiating table. And the south is pretty much secured, with a tactic being used in the north, which actually works well. But these forces take note of it, because their leaders want to know what's going on. Because they actually want to go to the country that's better off. In their opinion. Doesn't mean anything, but their opinion. With Ukraine's chaos continuing for a few months, with the rebels falling back, they want to join Russia, as they encircle a bunch of Ukrainian forces and take them. Yeah. And the Ukrainian and the rebel forces now see a new opportunity for what they want to do, as they are going to try and start moving forces for a seize of Kiev. And they tell their armed forces to go do that. Well, they're moving in from here. And they move down. But to try and slow their push, the forces make an advance here. But they're willing to lose some land. And yeah, that's what it starts looking like. But they may have taken land back, but they take all of this. And they push them back a bit. And well, they now see that this might be more difficult than they anticipated. So they invade Hungary. Yep, that's right, they invade Hungary. Despite not wanting to, they do. But Hungary succeeds. And they peace out right away. Well, since it's probably what they'll take, because that's what they occupied. And so they take this. They're on the way to rebuilding their once glorious nation. And they need to take more land. But they're getting pretty close. With this being a shock, as the Battle of Kiev starts raging on. Let's zoom in on it, guys. And yeah. As the forces get into smaller amounts, smaller ways, they quickly cut this area off from the city. And why are they moving in slower? As they move up to here. As they encircle it on two sides. With their advance slowing right down. With it seeming like they might not do it. But Russia starts sending in support more so. Even sending in ground forces. And yeah. As they make that. And somehow they succeed. As they take Kiev. And well, government control gets very weak after the fall. The government gets really weak now that they have been taken. With them seeing this area, they encircle it. By moving their forces to where they have the weakest forces. They quickly take out this area, with a few more months of fighting raging. But Ukraine makes a little counteroffensive. But they don't manage to retake their capital, which is unfortunate. With them just getting stuck at this point. And they meet for peace. Evray meets in Moscow. And they sign the peace treaty. Annexes Ukraine's eastern area, the pro-Russian rebels. And since they took Kiev, Ukraine gets placed under a Russian puppet state, as you can see. And Hungary decides to join the alliance. Why is Hungary joining this alliance, you may be wondering, guys? Well, that's because they are basically forced to it. In Romania and a few other countries like Austria and Czechoslovakia see the difference. With Belarus getting a new leader elected that's pro-Russian. And I think this series will have about a few more episodes, and then we'll have the future after it gets to present day, which will be 2023. And we will call it, I don't know why it will be the future, but just because we started in the early 1900s, and we're almost to 2023, and when we get there, it'll basically be the future. So we can't still call it alternate history. Alternate future of the alternate history. I don't know what I'll call it. And we are 125 subscribers away from 375, which is our goal by August, not August, guys, but our goal by May 1st is 375 subscribers. So if you could, please subscribe, as that'd be great for the channel. And also, can you please subscribe, like, comment, and all that stuff? And that's all for today's video. Wild Mapper out.